Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. Twitter, YouTube, the BSN app, wherever you're watching. We appreciate you guys joining us here on a Friday afternoon. If you got any questions, comments, picks that you want to give out to the people, you want us to comment on, feel free to hit us up in the chat wherever you're watching, and we'll get to those for sure. I got James Grande with me today, talking this massive, pretty much a full baseball slate on Friday night. What's up, man?
What's going on? Happy Friday to all that celebrate. Not that we do, Servo, because weekends are still sports don't sleep, so big UFC card tomorrow, baseball all weekend. For those that watch soccer, right? There's soccer going on. WNBA's back. So, the sports world never sleeps here, Servo, but happy Friday. Happy to be here as usual.
Yeah, we got the Women's World Cup going on, and we had Steve Pimentel on the show a couple days ago to give some of his odds and picks out for the Women's World Cup, and he's got DFS playbooks coming out for all these games. He had Team USA up tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, I think. So I'll be watching that. See, they're massive favorites against Vietnam, so I don't think they should be sweating that one. But will be interesting to see how well they play. But yeah, we got tons of sports now going on. It's nice. We passed the All-Star break, and now we got WNBA. No more NBA Summer League, but we got the World Cup coming up, the FIBA World Cup.
Yeah, the FIBA. Yep, let's go.
That would be cool to watch, and certainly bet on too. Why not?
Absolutely.
But yeah, we got a bunch of picks to give you guys for this Friday night game. Only one afternoon today. Currently, the Cubs and Cardinals playing, but we have plenty of games to get to tonight. Wanted to start off here though, because yesterday we had DraftKings posting some odds, next team odds for Shohei Ohtani and some other names that could be moved at the trade deadline. But obviously Ohtani is the big headliner. And as you can see, our producer Edouard putting this together. Where in the world is Shohei Ohtani being traded? Or is he staying in Los Angeles? But the odds, let's just got to go through this and see if you wanted to bet on this. Where you think he might land. The Angels, staying with the Angels, they're the favorites, minus 170, and that's kind of been the the vibe from the Angels, that they're not totally looking to trade him. Maybe they're just trying to play it coy or see what else big packages they can get. But you could see the top teams to land them: the Dodgers at plus 800, the Giants at plus 900. Any other team besides these listed at plus 1,000, the Braves at plus 1,100. Then you can see some of the other teams in the fringes. But, I mean, there's no, outside of him going back to Los Angeles, there's no big favorite here. I mean, I guess you could call the Dodgers and Giants ahead of the others, but it's pretty wide open where you could land. I mean, what do you see from this? Is it, if you're not betting on them to go back to the Angels, what do you think here?
So first and foremost, if you're the Angels, I'm just going to say this. I'll get it out of the way early. If you are the Angels and you do not trade Shohei Ohtani, that is going to be the biggest mistake in maybe sports history, in maybe the history of sports, because he is not re-signing with your team. Now, will they ultimately get the package back that they think they deserve and probably do deserve? Absolutely not, because they don't really have leverage, right? The only way you could see it is if a team is okay with parting ways with some pieces if they think they're going to win the World Series with Ohtani. But that's really the only way they're going to get anything close to what the value should be. And I had this discussion with Matt Sells on the Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Baseball podcast that you can see tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Bettor Sports Network. Is the difference between the Soto deal and this deal is that Soto had extra years on his contract, where Ohtani's done at the end of the year and he's on to the next team. But you still, if you're the Angels, you have to get something back. So I think these odds are a little weird because I think he's dealt by the deadline, and I know it really could go either way at this point. My best two guesses on where he could go and possibly long term. Now, long term, he's getting $600 million, right? He's getting the biggest contract in MLB history, bar none. He's going to be the richest player in sports, bar none. It's not even close. I guess what you could see is teams like who we expect, the Dodgers, who shell out a lot of money, the Yankees, who shell out a lot of money. But both those payrolls, like the Yankees would have $1 billion locked up between Ohtani and Judge at that point, right? So you got to think from a family-owned organization that the Yankees are, that's not the case. What I think happens if he's traded, and what I think should happen if he's traded, there's two teams right now that need pitching from at the top of the rotation and have the farm system to do it. Baltimore and Arizona would be the two teams that I would say go all in on Shohei Ohtani. You can give him the money. Arizona needs a front-end starter. Right now on Fangraphs, they're the number 2. They have the number 2 farm system in all of baseball, and Baltimore's number 1, as we've seen it. I mean, Baltimore stunk for so long. Either all the guys that they're still coming or the guys that they've already called up, Colton Cowser, from Gunnar, Adley, the 5 guys this in their lineup right now were at one point top 10 prospects in the game. So Baltimore desperately needs a front end starter. Arizona definitely needs a front end starter. So if I'm someone who's betting on any other team but the Angels, who are obviously large favorites, it's any other team plus 1,000 or Orioles plus 1,500. That's if you guarantee that you get Ohtani long term, right? Because you're not going to trade these packages for him long term. If I were to guess, like short term, I'm going for a World Series, then sure, it's Atlanta, it's the Dodgers, I don't even think the Yankees are good enough to win the World Series with Ohtani. So my guess would be Dodgers and Braves in that instance. But long term, dude, the Orioles and the Diamondbacks have what it takes to get him into, if you talk about like prospect packages. So I think he's dealt. I don't want to see him in the American League East as a Yankees fan. Like that would be really, really not fun to see. For the next 10 years of 37-year-old Ohtani with 40 home runs and still 250 strikeouts because he's the best baseball player we've ever seen. So Orioles and Diamondbacks, so plus 1,000 to any other team would be for long-term plays if they would be willing to cough up the cash. Dodgers for the short term, I think obviously makes sense at plus 8.
Yeah, the Dodgers just have they definitely need pitching too. They need I assume they are going to trade whether it's not Ohtani, they're going to trade for a pitcher with Jack Flaherty's been in the mix, other guys. So I think that's why, and he's probably the Dodgers are probably the favorites to sign him after the season, no matter where he goes. So that's rightfully they are the favorites to outside of the Angels to get him after the trade deadline. I like your call with the Orioles though, because they are a team they're in prime position now to just go for it this year. And they have, if you mentioned Matt Sells, you talking with Sells on the podcast. He's got an article up that just went up today about the top prospects that could be traded in a Shohei Ohtani deal. So go to the fantasyarm.com to read that article. He goes through all the contending teams, the sleeper teams to watch out for that have deep farm systems. And the Orioles, they're a contender, believe it or not, this year. They are atop the AL East right now. And they have a very deep farm system from being bad for a number of years before this. And, we've seen them call up some of their top guys already this year and last year, Jordan Westburg, Colton Cowser. Don't know if they'd, those would be top guys, if the Angels really wanted to reload with some of the top prospects. But the Orioles have a bunch of people, even in the minors, top prospects in the farm system that they'd be able to put a, probably one of the better packages out there, trade packages for any, for the Angels to be interested in, compared to the Dodgers, who've already traded a lot of their top prospects in recent years. They still have some, but the Orioles, I think, would be able to offer a lot more So I like your call with the Orioles and yeah, any other team, betting on any other team besides all those listed.
Yep.
I mean, because a lot of them listed are, in a playoff spot right now or in the wild card hunt. But you look at some of the teams that aren't there, and you mentioned the Diamondbacks being in that wild card hunt that could be looking to add a starting pitcher and even a great bat for the offense, obviously. The other team that I'm looking at, and they're kind of set, that they've been dominating all year, is the Rangers. The Rangers are in a position, if they just really want to sell out, go for this, who knows if the Angels will trade him to a division rival in the Rangers. But I think the Rangers, if they kind of put together a great offer, and all of a sudden they have, just a loaded offense, obviously. They already have a great offense, but putting Ohtani in there would make it just elite. And obviously a great starting pitcher to their rotation that's already good too. They're kind of the sleeper team that isn't really listed in the odds, but I would take a chance that they might be a team to go out for them. Because I feel like they're going to be in the market just to maybe add a piece or two, because they're in a prime spot to go get this World Series this year. Because they haven't been there in recent years, but they got the offense to do it, and I think maybe they're looking for a pitcher, and Ohtani could be the difference. So yeah, the any other team though, yeah, the Diamondbacks and Rangers would be the two. Even like the Reds, another team that now they've fallen back a little bit in that NL Central division, but still in the wild card race, and they could still win the division too. Especially if they add a guy like Ohtani, and their team also, similar to the D-backs, where their starting pitching is not that strong. They have the offense right now, but their pitching rotation could use some work.
So the Rangers are interesting, dude. I didn't really. If there's one thing we know or we've learned over the last few years, the Rangers do not care about spending money. They will shell it out, and they already lost their ace in DeGrom for the rest of the year. So looking to upgrade there could be a thing. And imagine putting Ohtani in the middle of that lineup, like after Seager, like you just have the top of the lineup, just Simeon, Seager, Ohtani, Adolis, Nathaniel Lowe. Like, holy smokes, would that lineup be good? And then you have like one of the catchers coming off the bench at all times, like who both should be starting catchers in baseball. That would be a disgusting lineup, and one that you probably could rely upon carrying you all the way to the World Series, especially if like Eovaldi kind of continues to labor through the year. The top of the rotation would be good too. You have going into a postseason with Ohtani and Eovaldi at the top is a pretty good 1-2 punch. So yeah, it's a good one. And again, they'll ship out $600 million. They don't care.
I will say there's teams I wouldn't bet on. When you look back at the odds, if our producer Adam Bernard can flip those odds back up on the screen, because I wouldn't bet on the Braves at plus 1100. I just don't think, like, they're very much set right now in pitching and in the offense. Similar to the Rangers, I guess, but I just don't see them making that splash for him. And I wouldn't bet on the Rays. I just think they are fine with what they have. I know maybe they've taken a step back over the last month, but I feel like they don't really need to go grab a star. They've never been that team to go get a star, whether it's free agency or trade. So I would kind of cross off the Rays, and then like the Red Sox. I know maybe they want to sign him, but they're slipping. It's like the Yankees and Red Sox kind of slipping in the AL wildcard race right now. Obviously, it's only a few games, but the Red Sox are kind of the ones that I think they might be sellers rather than buyers at the deadline. So, those are some of the teams I wouldn't bet on.
So the Rays, for sure, I just looked up their payroll. Their payroll this year is $80 million. That might be what Ohtani makes next year alone. Like he might he might just get 80 million next year. So I think the Braves. So I'll disagree a little bit. I think what the Braves could use, honestly, is a starter, because Morton is good, but he's 40 years old. Strider is obviously great, but we saw again yesterday, great for 6 innings, and then he goes out for the 7th with only 2 pitches, which is still the case. He's still throwing just 2 pitches.
Yeah.
Back-to-back home runs, and it's 4 runs after looking magical for 6. Fried's been hurt all year. Kyle Wright's been hurt all year. That's a guy that won 20 games for them that has been, they relied upon. Michael Soroka has 1 good year in his ledger, and Bryce Elder has vastly regressed over this last month and a half. I think if there is one flaw with the Braves, their bullpen's great. Their lineup is obviously all worldly. I do think they could use a starter. Now, is it Shohei Ohtani? Probably not. I think it's if they were to go get a front end starter, it's like a Snell or a Stroman or someone of that next ilk. Who, to be fair, not next ilk in terms of pitching, just next ilk of player, I guess, because Ohtani's that much better all around. But I would never put it past the Braves finagling a deal, being like, hey, look at all these players that we've developed. You don't think that these X amount of players could be them? And then because they've done it over and over. It's developed Acuna, gave him a deal where he's vastly underpaid. They did it with Albies. They did it with Riley. They've done it with everyone in their lineup, right? And every pitcher too. Fried's underpaid, and they get him on these long deals. So I do think the Braves could. I mean, the Rays, no. They can. There's no shot. I do think the Rays do need a starter as well, because another team that has half their, if not all, their starters on the IL, they're.
Yeah, I said it yesterday with when we were giving out picks. There's just so many. There's just so many games where the Rays can only do the opener and bullpen game. It's just the amount of actual trustworthy starters they have at this point, and even Glass now is not totally trustworthy.
Right.
It's they probably do need a starter. But I think they're confident that they can go grab a number 3 starter and have him pitch a lot better for them. I feel like they've done that in recent years. But I like your point with the Braves, because the Braves could even, I don't know if they'll do this, but I wouldn't rule out them trading one of those injured starters you mentioned, like Fried,
right,
or Wright. If the Angels really want a starter for next year and beyond, to replace Ohtani, then they could ask for one of those, and the Braves would probably be happy to do it because they've been getting by without them this year. So that would be interesting. By the way, our producer, Adam Bernard, I want to bring him in here because he had a little comment about the Giants. We haven't even talked about the Giants, but they're plus 900. So what's your point about the Giants here for the people?
I'm no baseball expert by any means, but I will say this. I live in the North Bay, in the Bay Area in California. The Giants fan base was so hungry for Aaron Judge last year, and they didn't get him.
Arson Judge. That's right, because they did have Arson Judge there for a second, and then they lost him too. I mean, that sucks. They lost him too. I know that sucks.
That stinks. But and if the Dodgers really are the favorites to have him long term, which they are, he doesn't have to move. He could stay in LA, all that stuff. The Giants are right up the coast. They could stick it to a division rival. The Giants are a good team, but an Ohtani can certainly put them in the upper echelon of the NL. I could see that being a long-term home for him, and it's an hour flight from Los Angeles, so it's not moving far.
Yeah, the Giants could also use a starting pitcher and a good bat too for that lineup. So that would be 2 birds with 1 stone right away. So they plus 900, not bad either. Then I guess, it's pretty wide open though. I kind of see him staying with the Angels because I feel like they're going to be.
Oh, it's going to hurt so bad.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to be so stubborn about this, and it's going to be like, dude, what the heck?
I mean, their ownership, they have horrible ownership. They're never you can't say that they're the Snyder level of ownership. That that's creme de la creme worst ownership of all time. But we're not far behind. Obviously the Snyders had their own issues with scandals away from just being an owner, but in terms of just ownership, the Angels don't. The Pujols contract, the Rendon contract, they never got any pitching help. I mean, they at all. What's the last good pitcher you can remember them signing? I mean, they've done this over and over again. So Does it shock me to see the Angels screw this one up and just lose him for nothing? It would. It would. But like the Giants are interesting because they do have some top tier prospects. Kyle Harrison's their top prospect. He's a lefty pitcher. Everyone likes lefty starters. We've seen Casey Schmidt be really good at the major league level. And now he's really struggling, but he's a good middle infielder. Like they definitely have Luis Matos, and they built this team with the idea that Aaron Judge was going to be in the middle of that lineup. Like they went and signed Haniger, they went and signed Conforto, they went in, they brought in pieces everywhere, and they were like, well, this is going to work, and our lineup's going to be very deep because we're going to have Aaron Judge in the middle of it, and then they didn't. But all things can be made whole again with the Ohtani thing. The Ohtani trade, I get it why he's pretty good odds. They have a good package for him. It makes sense. They need to bat and whatnot, but I don't know. Does he want to live in San Francisco? That's like ultimately the thing too. Like he can just say like, yeah, I'll go play here for half a year, but I'm not signing with you. Right. Yeah. That's the crappy part about any team trading for him. If he wants to does he want to go to Tampa? Does he want to go to Baltimore? I mean, what do you think he knows about Baltimore? What does he think what does he know about all these states? He's like, I live in South California. Like, why would I not want to just live in California all the time? So,
yeah.
Who knows? This is obviously one of the biggest trades we're ever going to see happen. If it does happen, I hope he does go to not the Dodgers. No offense said like the Dodgers, but like, let's let everyone else get a piece of like some fun,
Yeah, and every year they make a trade to land a big name, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did it for Ohtani here.
Dude, they have the pieces too, and they have the pieces. Like they have top pitching prospects. We've seen 3 of them already: Bobby Miller, Emmett Shaheen. Like we've seen all of them. They have Michael Busch, the left-handed infield bat. Like they could get Ohtani if they wanted to, because we know they have the salary to spend because they don't have a limit on what they spend. So. That would be unfortunate for the rest of the league, but Betts, Ohtani. I mean, I was talking about the Rangers lineup. Betts, Ohtani, Freeman at the top. I mean,
that'd be unfair. Yeah, and then you got JD Martinez, Muncy, Will Smith right there.
What is JD Martinez hitting 7th every day? Like, I mean, what are we doing, dude? So gun to your head, Servo. You think Angels are the best bet, -170? I mean, obviously, that's what Vegas. I mean, the odds are obviously telling us Angels, but like, gun to your head, he's not moved at the deadline.
Right now, yeah. Unfortunately, I do think it'll be interesting to see how these odds change once we get into the next week. If the Angels, look for like a little fringe move, if they trade, someone, either pitcher or hitter to someone that's not Ohtani, we could see like that might be the beginning of like, all right, now they're going to trade him because they still think they're in the mix, I guess, but I think within the next week they're going to have to make that decision. And if we see one fringe move, it could be leading to that. So yeah, I mean, I'd probably go Angels, and I'm not going to bet on it -170, but I think there's a reason he's that much of a favorite to go back to the Angels. All right. Well, speaking of Ohtani here, because we got to shift gears to our best bets for tonight, our betting picks for tonight. And I know one of your picks for tonight is Ohtani based. So what do you got?
Yeah, Shohei Ohtani over half a walk, and it's at plus money. And I think this is free. If you look at what's happening with just around baseball, no one's pitching to the guy. He walked 4 times. The last time we saw him at the Dish 2 days ago against the Yankees, he's now walked in 5 straight games. And I've actually attacked this Johan Oviedo prop a couple times with the walks because he has lacked control all year long. Even in a game Oviedo has last time out 7 innings, 1 run, 10 strikeouts, right? Looked dominant against the Giants. 3 walks. He has now walked double-digit opponents in 3 straight games. He walks a lot of people per inning, and he especially struggles against lefty bats. 4 walks per 9 innings, 4.3 walks per 9 innings. That's a 10.8% walk rate against left-handed bats, which is abysmal. And that's really where he struggled. Now you get arguably the best lefty bat in the game, at least at current form, the best lefty bat in the game. Ohtani's going to walk for the 6th straight game. It might come in his first at bat. Like, they might just say, all right, dude, get down to, just get down to first. Like, we'll just deal with the rest of the lineup, because it makes sense. You take Mike Trout out of the lineup.
Yeah.
Mickey Moniak, they moved the way the Angels have recently altered their lineup. They're now batting Ohtani second and Moniak third. You know, Moniak is a good baseball player, at least, you know, former number 1 overall pick, but he strikes out a lot. And I know he's hitting 330 and he's been great, but he does strike out a lot and hasn't proven it until this year. Oh yeah, first overall pick of the Phillies. Sorry, we brought this up before. Sorry, dark times. Anyways, I think Ohtani gets this done nice and early, and even the Pittsburgh bullpen is, you know, obviously subpar. So I'm going over a half a walk for Ohtani at plus money. I kind of like it. I think this is easy money.
Yeah. Your explanation of, like, you know, just why not walk him and deal with Moniak or others, because I'd rather face Moniak than Ohtani, for sure. So
yeah, I think so.
It's interesting when you put this on the sheet. I just kind of glanced at it. I thought this was going to be a pitcher prop for him, like over a half a walk, and I was like, wow, plus money for that, because he walks some guys when he pitches.
Yeah, he sure does. He sure does.
I looked at 1.5 on DraftKings and juice to the over there. So you're saying, I guess he's going to have more walks allowed
at the dish.
Than walks at the dish. Maybe not if yours cashes and he draws a couple walks here. All right, my best bet for tonight. I'm going with the Texas Rangers money line. We're just talking about them as a possible Ohtani landing spot, but I like them to win here against the Dodgers at home. Fading Tony Gonsolin, you know, has been kind of profitable for me. You know, after his hot start, it's been pretty profitable over the last month or so, and he's still kind of taking a step back. He's still going to see some regression, I think. A 4.88 expected ERA compared to his 3.72 ERA. His K rate and whiff rates are, you know, bottom tier of MLB starters this season. Just taking a big step back from last year, his really good season last year. And I don't think, you know, all these stats just doesn't bode well on the road against this Rangers offense, just hammering right-handed pitching all season long. Since the All-Star break, they have a 378 WOBA, a 225 ISO against right-handed pitching. And they're also on a 6-game winning streak since the All-Star break, and still at home. They've been at home, and they're still at home here tonight against the Dodgers. And the Dodgers now on their 3rd straight road series since the All-Star break. So maybe some weary legs there. But even so, you know, I'm kind of banking on Andrew Heaney having another good outing here. He's been very up and down, and it's prone to a blow-up anytime out. But he's going to have a scoreless appearance last start against Cleveland. Had a scoreless appearance 2 starts ago at home too. So I think he can have a little bit of success here, do just enough, and the Rangers offense will give him plenty of run support. And the Dodgers, since the All-Star break, have been a bottom tier offense against lefties with a 260 WOBA and 204 batting average too. So I think Heaney can do his thing here, and I'll take the Rangers on the money line.
I love that. The Rangers have also been the best team in baseball against the spread at home this year. Servo, 32-19. So you have that working for you. The Dodgers have been middle of the road against the spread on the road. I said on the road twice there, but all good. And that offense is, God, it's so good. Imagine Ohtani. Yeah. I just can't imagine. I can't stop imagining Ohtani dropped in the middle of it.
Seeing that graphic with the Rangers logo and Ohtani is a little tilting.
Oh my God. I love that. And the Gonsolin, the point you before, I'm sorry, the point of Gonsolin is a great point, because he has been struggling. The strikeouts have been down, and like 3.7 ERA is pretty good. Those peripheral numbers are going to catch up to him very soon, like sooner rather than later. I think they catch up to him here. I love that.
If you go look at his StatCast page, by the way, it's a lot of blue, which if you know StatCast pages and stuff, you want to see more red than blue. And there's just minimal red there. So, but yeah, I mentioned his like lower strikeout rate, whiff rate, and all that. I think it catches up to him, as it has the last few starts for him. But I think especially on the road against the Rangers. I wanted to throw one out since we were just talking about Ohtani, and I'm backing him as a pitcher tonight too. So I'll throw this pick out here. The Pittsburgh Pirates team total in the first 7 innings under 2.5, minus 145 on DraftKings. It's very heavy juice there, but I'm still liking this. I think Ohtani's going to do his thing on the mound. He's strong at home this year. 2.74 home ERA. 6 of his 10 home starts, he's allowed 2 runs or fewer. And so this kind of prop is suggesting that he's going to pitch 7 innings here, hopefully, and keep the Pirates under 3 runs, so 2 runs or fewer. The Pirates have been bad against righties all season long. And since the All-Star break, they're still among the worst offenses and the worst in a few categories. 245 WOBA, 197 batting average, a 50 WRC plus against righties. And I'm looking for Ohtani to bounce back at home here on the mound, because in his last 2 starts, he's had some bad outings, some subpar outings against the Padres and Astros, but obviously a lot tougher offenses than the Pirates. So I like Ohtani to you're banking on his offense here to draw a walk, and I'm hoping he limits the Pirates scoring.
Yeah, I think both pretty safe bets. I think we're going to have another Shohei Ohtani day here, Dan.
Yeah.
Just feels inevitable that the
especially
Pirates
with all the trade dedeadline like heating up. I feel like he's going to go out there and toss a gem.
Yeah, and you know what? He has been like, he's kind of been like good against, when he's pitching, good against bad teams and bad against good teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
He really has. Like, it roughed up against Houston, roughed up against San Diego. Oh, the White Sox dominated. Like, was good against the Dodgers. I'll give him that. Was pretty good against Texas, but he's like struggled against Houston. Like but Pittsburgh has been, which makes me sad because I heavily invested in Brian Reynolds in a trade in one of my fantasy leagues this year, and that's the other side of the trade's doing well, and Brian Reynolds isn't. So like, it's been sad to see, but they've been abysmal, and it's been sad to see because Pittsburgh was off to such a hot start. Like, they were such a good team in the first month or two of the season, and everything's really fallen apart, and their team's going to fall apart because I think there's a lot of interesting pieces to be traded as well. Yeah. So, I back that Ohtani play. I don't think they're going to score many runs at all, even in the entire game. I don't know what their team total is.
I looked at that too. It's 3.5. So you could look at the overall team total. I could see Ohtani going 7 strong, and then the Pirates maybe getting a run or 2 in the 8th innings, 9th innings. So
yeah, if he, I mean, we've seen this before. Like, he loses 2-1 games. Like, if he doesn't do it all himself, they again back to the Angels management, just like not putting a good team around them. So yeah.
What else you got tonight?
Yeah, so I'm looking to target your Phillies here with Gavin Williams over 4.5 strikeouts, minus 150 over on DraftKings. And it's not to say that the Phillies offense isn't dangerous, because they are. They have been pretty good, especially since the start of July. 760 team OPS. That's in the top 10 in baseball. Bryce Harper playing first base tonight, making his debut there. Like, it's very interesting times. He's not taking the bat off his shoulders sometimes. Like, there's been a lot going on in Philadelphia lately. But one of the things going on in Philadelphia has been the strikeout rate. And they've actually struck out a good amount against righties all year. It's been over 23%. They've been in the top half of the league in that category. But since July 1st, it's actually gone up a full percentage, up to 24.2% since the month started. And that's obviously before and after the All-Star break. And Gavin Williams is a guy who can miss bats at a pretty solid clip. Like, has he done this consistently? No, but he's a good prospect. We're getting the pitch count deep into games. We've seen twice he's gone for 7 and 6 strikeouts. Now, granted, both those games against Kansas City, I understand. But Philadelphia has a strikeout rate rivaling Kansas City. And anytime you say that, That's not good. Like Kansas City's been a team that we've targeted now. Obviously, again, Philly's offense overall is better. Just they're a better team. Like there's undoubtedly that is the case. But Gavin Williams, long history in the minor leagues of being a strikeout arm. He's flashed it a couple times at the major league level, going up against a team in Philadelphia that struck out a whole bunch against righties this month. I'm going to take the over 4.5 strikeouts for Gavin Williams today against your Phillies.
Yeah, I can't blame you doing that at all, because I've seen the Phillies strike out a ton against young pitchers like Williams that they haven't seen before, and also against some vets like Corbin Burns lit them up the other day. They strike out a lot more often than like their overall numbers say. They still score runs, they win games, but they're still striking out a lot. So getting that 4.5 isn't bad. Well, my pick is going against, I guess, a little bit of that. I'm going with the Phillies money line here. Williams, so he could get his strikeouts, but he also has a 5.60 ERA at home this year. So that worries me here. With the Phillies, you mentioned some of their strong numbers in July, and against righties in July, they have a 325 WOBA and a 188 ISO. Some good numbers there. And it's mostly, though, I'm looking at Ranger Suarez, a really impressive 2.39 ERA on the road compared to a 5.64 ERA at home. Some night and day splits there. So he's on the road here, and the Guardians are in the worst end of their season-long splits. They've been better against righties than lefties this season and in the month of July. And they're kind of a below-average offense versus lefties this month and since the All-Star break. So I think Suarez can do a lot here. And the Phillies, you kind of look back at their, before the All-Star break, just this past month plus on the road, in their last 18 road games, they're 15-3. Just straight up. Yeah, a lot of their losses, strangely enough, have come at home rather than on the road lately. So I think on the road here, they're going to get the win. So I like the Phillies money line. It was minus 118 on FanDuel.
Yeah, so Philly is the better team, and the Guardians are they've hit a little rut, and they've lost most of their top half of their rotation to injury, and they're relying on these kids, Williams, Logan T. Allen, Tanner Bybee. They literally are forced into the rotation just by necessity with McKenzie and Bieber on the IL, and their offense hasn't necessarily, outside of Josh Naylor, and I'll give Josh Naylor all the props in the world because he has been amazing, but it's a lefty-lefty matchup for him. Their best player is in a lefty-lefty spot. I could definitely see Philly winning this game outright. I mean, the numbers that you just mentioned, 12, you said 15-3 on the road or in their last 18, or 12-3?
15-3, yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. That's weird, and speaks to how, sometimes people do say Phillies fans can be kind of tough, and maybe that's the case. They Alec Boehm did flip them off in his first, what are you guys doing? Why are you booing me all the time? Flipped them the bird, and they're playing well on the road, some people are like, oh, thank God I'm getting away from this stadium. So yeah, I mean, I like it. I think this is a game because Ranger Suarez got off to a really bad start, and he's pitched extremely well for 2 months straight. I definitely think this is a low-scoring game. I definitely still think Philly's offense strikes out a lot, and that's just, they've scored a bunch of runs while striking out. That's you gave the stats on why they're good against righties. I gave the stats that they strike out a lot. Both things can be true. So I like the Phillies money line as well. I just think they're going to strike out a bunch, but we can both be victorious here.
By the way, you mentioned earlier Bryce Harper starting at first base in that lineup tonight. I think that helps the defense for the Phillies, believe it or not, because you get Kyle Schwarber out of left field. He's not a good fielder at all. Schwarber is the DH tonight, and they got, he's better than average, but Jake Cave now in left field. Yep. So maybe that helps the defense behind Suarez even more. So all right. So what else you got tonight?
So I did got a little parlay going here, Servo. Yankees money line plus Clark Schmidt alt. It was an alt line over 5Ks because DraftKings said it. So I think he goes over, but they said it at 6.5 for Clark Schmidt strikeouts tonight, and it's against the Royals. So I like the Yankees to win at home. They really desperately need a win. They've been faltering, obviously, and there's been all the talk in New York, like what's going on? Rodon sucks. Like nobody can hit. Donaldson's hurt again. Like nothing's going well. Will they fire Boone? Will they fire Cashman? Like it's constant chatter. Thank goodness the Royals come to town for the Yankees' sake, because on the road this year, the Royals are 13-34. Only worse team on the road this year is the Oakland Athletics. And anytime you're in air with the Oakland Athletics, like that's concerning, right? Because there could historically be the worst team we've ever seen. So like that's concerning. Against the spread, they've been terrible all year. They're the worst team on the road against the spread this year, 18-29. They are 30th against right-handed pitching. They're 30th in WOBA. 30th in WOBA, 29th in OPS, and they're top 5 in strikeout rate. And that's where I bring in the Clark Schmidt strikeouts to finish the parlay out, where it's pretty good odds. Clark Schmidt has for where he struggled against lefty bats this year, because that's been where his biggest struggle has been. Thankfully, the Royals don't really have much to offer him on that side of the plate. He has really been good in the strikeout department. The last 2 starts, he has 15 strikeouts across his last 11 innings, which has put him on the year over a strikeout per inning, 95 strikeouts in 94 innings. He hits this 5+ regularly. If you just look through the box scores, he has over 5 strikeouts a lot. So I'm going to bet on Clark Schmidt at home tonight. I'm betting on the Yankees at home tonight. I don't think that this is a high scoring game, and we'll get to that in a few as well. I think this is a very low scoring game based on where both offenses are. But I like parlaying the Clark Schmidt strikeouts, which is an alt line again, with the Yankees money line -125 over on DraftKings.
Yeah, that's a good call, because the Yankees money line at -195 on DraftKings. Really tough to bet that. And if you don't feel comfortable betting the run line either, you can just kind of parlay it, same game parlay that. And yeah, I like I've done this too when like I'm not doing it tonight, but I'm looking at like the Astros, huge favorites on the road against the A's. And if you like Valdez's strikeouts, but you don't think, I think it's at like 7.5.
Yeah, I think
tonight.
it's 7.5. Yeah, it's 7.5 less.
So like if you think you get 5+ or 6+, I like that little same game parlay too, if you want to do something like that. But yeah, I like that strategy of it.
It's let's see. Yeah. Oh, I had outs.
6.5 I'm seeing for Valdez actually. But yeah, like just that kind of vibe. Parlaying the strikeouts with the money line if you think the pitcher has a big part of it, but you don't want to pay the big price for the money line or the run line. So I like that strategy. You want to go through your stay on this game and go through your other pick for it?
Yeah, sure. I'm going with the under in this game, 8.5 runs. Both offenses are abysmal. Like the Yankees offense is not getting any better, even since hiring Sean Casey as their offensive coordinator. And they faced an interesting guy in Alec Marsh, who, after struggling against the Dodgers, has really figured it out his last 2 starts. And this is a guy who went 2-16 in the minors last year. And I've pointed that out a bunch on every show I've been. Like, he hasn't been a good pitcher. And then he was. He was good at AAA this year before the call-up. And now he's gone back-to-back starts in which he's allowed 2 earned runs. He's pitching deep into games, 11 strikeouts against Tampa Bay. And I already mentioned I like Schmidt. I mean, these are the 2 of the bottom 2 teams in baseball in terms of offense against the handedness that they're facing tonight. The Yankees have a very good bullpen as well. The Royals have a decent bullpen, one that no longer includes Aroldis Chapman. So you have to, maybe that's a little weight in the Yankees' favor. But I think that this is a very low-scoring game at Yankee Stadium, one that the Yankees win comfortably, but under 8.5 is where I'm going. I don't think too many runs will be scored between these two tonight.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. All right, I'm gonna go. I got some player props I'll run through. Going with Kyle Bradish over 5.5 strikeouts. He's been really good lately. 187 ERA over his last 7 starts. And his strikeouts have been there. He started the year a little bit slower in the strikeout department, but he's picked it up a lot lately. 7+ strikeouts in 4 of his last 5 starts. averaging 6.4 strikeouts per outing since the start of June with that strong ERA I mentioned. And the fading the Rays offense has been a profitable thing lately because they're a little overvalued after starting out so hot. But over the month of July, 26% strikeout rate against righties, just a 289 WOBA, 219 batting average as well. And Bradish, he struck out 8 against the Rays on the road back on June 20th. So that's a good vibe here. And he's also had some, a higher K rate on the road this season than at home. So that's also encouraging in this matchup, on the road here in Tampa Bay, this marquee AL East matchup. But I think I like the over on his 5.5 strikeouts. I feel like it's a strikeout too low here.
Yeah, he's been really good in the strikeout department. I think they've had a couple guys be really good in the strikeout department consistently. Yeah. And you're right. Like the Rays, Kyle Gibson ran through him yesterday. So Kyle Gibson could do it. Anybody could do it.
All right. And then, all right. So I got 2 picks in the same game here. I'm going with the Twins and the White Sox. First of all, have you seen how hot Edouard Julien is right now?
Dude, he's good. He's good. I love this kid.
He's on fire. So I'm going with the over on his hits, runs, RBIs prop, over 1.5 on DraftKings. He's got he's hitting 500 this month, 1550 OPS.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. He's on an 8-game hitting streak, has 5 homers this month. And he's got Lance Lynn tonight, who's been very shaky. 6.06 ERA, a 143 WHIP, allowing a 337 batting average to lefties, and Julien is hitting 333 against righties this season. So I think the over on his hits, runs, RBIs. He's hitting second in that Twins lineup and has been since he caught fire. So I like the lefty on righty matchup for him to get the over there. And then in the same game, same matchup, I guess. I'm going with Lance Lynn over his strikeouts. I feel like both these things can happen. But 7.5 strikeouts is it's actually moved a little bit, but it was plus 105 on DraftKings earlier. And he's got this Twins lineup that their last 2 games against the Mariners, George Kirby had 10 strikeouts, Luis Castillo had 11 strikeouts. Lynn has been, I just mentioned he's been very shaky, bad ERA this year, bad WHIP, but his strikeouts have been there. He's striking guys out. It's kind of like boom or bust for him in terms of his matchups, at bat to at bat. And, his strikeouts since, on the road this year, by the way, a 27% strikeout rate, averaging 6.9 strikeouts per start. So he's right in that range, but he's had 7+ Ks in 4 of his last 5 starts, and he's got totals of 11 and 16 mixed in there. He faced Minnesota back in April and struck out 10. And this Twins lineup I mentioned, they've had some bad K matchups lately, and they're an MLB worst 27% strikeout rate versus righties this year. It's been a matchup we've been targeting all season. Since the All-Star break, it's even worse at 30.7% strikeout rate versus righties, a league worst. So I think Lynn can get the Ks here. You might give up 4 or 5 runs, but this is what the White Sox do. They let him go like 6 innings, even though he's letting up like 5 runs. So that's why his strikeouts have been able to hit more often.
Yeah, 4 double-digit strikeout games this year for Lynn, and you get the strikeout kings. It doesn't surprise me to see a Joey Gallo team lead the league in strikeout rate. Gallo and Buxton alone have 30% and 40% strikeout rates this year against right-handed pitching. And Lynn struggles with lefties, and the Twins have a bunch of lefties in their lineup tonight, but a bunch of those lefties strike out. Like Julien, I love. Even Julien has a 32% strikeout rate. Yeah. He could hit a home run and strike out 3 times in the same game, and that wouldn't surprise me. That's been the kind of the Twins' MO as a team all season long. It's a very boomer bust offense. A lot of boom lately. Julien, Kirilloff, Kepler in the middle of that have been a lot of done the booming, but I like both those plays because I love Edouard Julien. 567 average over his last 10 games is insane. And let's face it, Lynn struggles against lefties, but like you said, they keep him out there and let him throw a boatload of pitches, and he strikes out a lot of bats. So I could see, like you said, literally like 6 innings, 5 runs, 9 strikeouts tonight, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprising. 3 home runs. He'll have 24 home runs. It would
I
be like
know.
4 solo shots tonight. Wouldn't surprise me either, all to lefties. So yeah, I mean, I think Lynn's going to struggle against lefties. I also think he's going to get a boatload of strikes.
Yeah, it's exactly it. And whether maybe one of these doesn't hit, but hopefully the other one does. So I'll go 1 for 2. All right, what's your last pick for tonight before we get to some home run calls?
Yeah, last pick's going to be Corbin Carroll over 1.5 total bases. I was toying with the idea of 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Better odds here, getting plus money on the Corbin Carroll prop. Ben Lively has really struggled against lefties specifically this year. All the power to lefties too, and we know Corbin Carroll's prolific power against righties. But we're in Great American, where 8 of 11 home runs has Lively allowed. Lefties have hit 7 of the 11, 460 slug against Lively, over 300 ISO allowed, 557 FIP, 488 xFIP, 2 home runs per 9 innings. He has a 50% fly ball rate against left-handed bats, and Corbin Carroll is as good as it gets across Major League Baseball in general. Like, would be one of the leading men in the clubhouse in the NL. Probably not only he's obviously going to win Rookie of the Year, but he'd probably be in the MVP discussion if Ronald Acuna just didn't exist in the National League.
Yeah.
308 ISO, 418 WOBA against right-handed pitching this year. He's just smoking everything, hitting third in Great American. Arizona has a massive implied team total tonight. They're one of the best teams to target in the prop betting world, I think, overall, just facing Lively. So I'm going Corbin Carroll over 1.5 total bases. I think this is a great spot.
Yeah, I like that one too because this game I looked at the over in it because I could see both offenses doing it, and the Diamondbacks will for sure have their fair share of runs here. But the over's at 10.5 is the line. It kind of scared me a little bit taking the over there, but it obviously with the Reds and Great American Ballpark, it could definitely happen. And the Diamondbacks have been in some higher scoring games they just were with the Braves. It was like 7-5 after 3 innings.
Insane, dude. That game was insane. 16 to 13 total. Like, that is insane.
So we get a game like that. I think Carroll's going over his total bases prop. All right, my last pick here. I'm going with Kyle Tucker over his hits, runs, RBIs over 1.5. I was shocked, honestly, to see this still at 1.5. I thought this would be at 2.5. But the guys have been also with Julien. Tucker's just been lights out, on fire since the All-Star break, but honestly, over the whole month of July. I broke down some of Tucker in the Underdog Picks article up over on Fantasy Alarm if you want some more kind of analysis there. But if you just look back at it, what he's been doing night to night, this is an easy prop that I think he hits the over. Smashing left-handed pitching. He's got JP Sears, the lefty, on the mound tonight. I think he keeps it going. So I like it. The over on his hits, runs, RBIs prop. You could look at a number of his props at this point. He's hitting most of them most nights now. So I think he'll go back to the well here.
Dude, he is destroying left-handed pitching.
He is.
Destroying left-handed
351 batting average, 958 OPS against lefties. That's just something you don't really see often with a lefty on lefty. It's just, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, he's been... Yeah, and he's, I will say, I always say this about Kyle Tucker, when he's like ascending, just jump all in on props, DFS, like whatever. Like, he is such a streaky baseball player, and when he's going good, he is amazing.
Until he cools off, I'll keep riding it. Yeah. All right, let's wrap things up with our home run calls tonight, our daily dingers.
That's a dinger.
All right, who you got going deep tonight?
Now that's a dinger. So I'm going to go with Teoscar Hernandez plus 300 over on DraftKings Sportsbook. One of the better odds today outside of like your typical star power that led group. And the reason is Teoscar Hernandez faces Yusei Kikuchi. Yusei Kikuchi, I say a bunch of home runs tonight, right? Look, the thing... Thank you, Adam. Thank you. I nailed that one. I nailed it. I nailed it. I don't care what anyone says. If we get that That sound, that means I nailed it. Okay, we nailed it. We know Kikuchi as a home run allower and a fly ball allower. This year, he's taken it to another level. 42% fly ball rate on the year. That's 5% higher than it was last year. That's 12%. It was 12% higher than it was 2 years ago when he was a Mariner. Actually, he's allowed over 2 home runs per 9 innings in his in each of the last 2 years. It's been this way kind of since he touched down in the major leagues. And he faces off Teoscar Hernandez, who has a 286 ISO against lefties. And ISO is just for, the premise behind it is just basically power, like your power against a handedness. 286 this year. Last year, Servo, 419 isolated power. So we're now back-to-back years of elite numbers. And when you look at Kikuchi, along with the fly ball rate, along with the home runs, where he's, a lot of home runs in Seattle to begin with, it's not the best hitters environment. 273 ISO allowed to lefties this year, 213 to righties. Teoscar Hernandez going yard. He's done this a lot against left-handed pitching. Plus 300 is some pretty good odds over on DraftKings.
Nice. I'm going with Edouard Julien again. Plus 600 on DraftKings. I was shocked to see this because I mentioned he's on fire right now. He's got 5 homers this month. He's been hitting, left and right. He's hitting lefty, but left and right. And he's got Lance Lynn. We were talking about him earlier. Allowed 24 homers this year in his 19 starts. 17 of his 24 have come against left-handed hitters, allowing a 337 batting average to lefties. And Julien, all 9 of his home runs this season have come against righties. So I think he's going deep again here. He didn't go deep last night, so he's due because he's been this hot lately. So I think he's getting back there tonight. So I'll take the plus 600 odds. I'll take that.
Doesn't homer one night. He's due. He's due.
That's like like Ohtani.
Right. True.
Most nights, right? It's like, oh, he didn't homer last night or the last 2 games. He's got to be going deep tonight.
Yeah, I mean.
So those are all of our MLB picks. We got to get out of here, but stay tuned at 5:00 Eastern here. Coming up on Bettor Sports Network, we have the Quick Pitch MLB DFS live show with John and Pemba and James Grande pulling double duty here. You're sticking around for another hour. Love that. And then the Alarm Fantasy Baseball podcast with Matt Sells and Colby Conway. And then 7 p.m. Eastern, it's Campus to Canton with Felix, Chris, and Matt. And those guys. So stay tuned for some baseball content, some football content. And we'll be back on Monday, 4:00 Eastern, as we do every weekday here on Bettor Sports Betting. And we'll be talking some more baseball picks and NFL futures, all that good stuff next week. So come back with us. James, awesome stuff, man. Good luck with the MLB DFS show. And good luck, everyone, with your picks tonight. And we'll see you later.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.